Welcome back to the XCEL podcast. I am one of your hosts, Riley Smith. We have a great guest today, Jared Holbrook. Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome.
This has taken a minute. So,
It has.
Jared has helped us in many ways since we started XCEL PT. Helped us with the podcast, helps us with our content basically. But I want to start with the story of the very first time we met. So I'm treating the Clement one day. It's a balmy afternoon, here in Quincy, Illinois, 8th and State. And we had one of our doors open, our side doors, so people, could get some fresh air. And all of a sudden, this guy I'd never seen in my life before just walks in like he owns the place. I'm like, who in the world? He's talking to everybody like he knows everybody in the world, and it's like, hey, Brian, how you doing, man? I'm like, what is this? Who is this? And Brian's like, oh, hey, Riley, do you know Jared? And I'm like, no, please, introduce me.
You're the one.
Yeah. But that was probably what 2.5 years ago.
Yeah,
at least.
at least 2 years.
So, and we've been best buds ever since. We meet up every Wednesday night to play ping pong. I'm kidding. That's a joke. But no, in all seriousness, we appreciate you. We're glad that you're on the podcast today. I think it'd be good to start. Like a lot of people here in the Quincy area know you.
Yeah.
You've kind of done a lot of stuff. You've worn a lot of hats.
Right.
In your life, you have many talents, but tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your family.
Yeah, so I just turned 44 years old. I'm married to, exactly, it's up there. Married to my wife, Katie, and we have 2 daughters, Leah and Claire. Leah's 14, I believe. Claire's this tall, I say. I'm bad with numbers. No, she's 10 years old. Leah goes in her first year at Notre Dame, and Claire's over at St. Dominic school. But so yeah, boy, I have done a lot of things. I was an alderman for years.
Yeah.
I was a FedEx driver. I have been a self-employed photographer, full time for, really, it's really hard to think back when that started. Maybe 16 years ago.
Yeah.
15 years ago, something like that. Been doing that forever. It seems. But I've also been a musician, so that's where a lot of people know me from. Not only do I play at masses and funerals and weddings, I play guitar and sing, but I've also play acoustic gigs like in bars and private parties. And then I have a band that I've been playing with, The Gentlemen, which most people know. We've been doing this for over 15 years. So there's a lot of ways that people have known me in the past, and that's some of the current stuff I'm doing. I'm also the new executive director of the Quincy Catholic Elementary Schools Foundation. So that is a whole new chapter of my life. As you can imagine, I've been a photographer for those years, self-employed, and now I've taken on this role. So it's like I was talking with Zach before, it was just something that happened at the right time in my life. Yeah, I certainly didn't know the opportunity was going to happen. I wasn't planning for it.
Sure.
And I think it's, for people to go, well, why are we on a podcast at a physical therapy clinic, talking about this stuff? Well, I have had terrible problems with my feet.
Yeah.
For at least 18 years. And until I came to you guys, I literally had no hope. It was just pain and pain, nonstop for years. And the reason why I walked into your clinic that day, acting like I own the place, I probably do, with the but your staff had been helping me through all this pain for so long, even before you had come along. We laugh too much because we've been friends now for a few years, but that's why I'm here. It's because I've been around you guys so much, trying to get me through this pain. And you guys you've helped me along this entire journey to where now I'm in here recovering from surgery that corrected the problems that I was having.
Yeah.
So that's where this tie-in is in our lives. Is there's the guy we know, there's a client, there's a friend, and now it's somebody who has a completely different position and a very unique position in the community that a lot of people don't know what it is. They confuse it with other things. So yeah, anyway, that's why we're here.
Well, and I think one of the key things from that, 18 years, 16 years, whatever it's been, you've been able to build relationships.
Right.
And especially in a small town like this, that's so important. What is Quincy? 40,000 people?
Yeah.
Not whatever, 45,000. Surrounding areas, bear than that a little bit with 60 or 70. But, right or wrong, like, relationships make or break you.
Right.
You've been able to build some really good ones because of the person that you are. I said this on a previous episode, but it's really cool to see good things happen to good people. And you're one of them. And it's been cool to kind of just hear your journey. I mean, from not only your injuries that you've sustained, throughout the life to your feet, but also your weight loss journey, getting healthier, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, all those things. So I had a couple questions because I definitely want to tie in your new role, because it's really important to us here at XCEL that we highlight local organizations, businesses, whatever that is, that are really doing a good job here in the community. And it also impacts the people that come in our door too. I mean, there's a lot of people that are positively impacted and affected by your organization. So we'll get to that. But
Yeah.
I have a kind of a weird question. Here's your first curveball. So being an entrepreneur, having your own business, it can be hard. It can be tough. What have you learned from that has helped you be a better husband and be a better parent? And then also the opposite of that. You can answer whichever that you want.
What if I learned from being an entrepreneur? That it's always your job to educate your own clients. It's not your client's job to know how you do your work. So we see a lot of frustration, even as a photographer, as a PT. You will get clients that complain, or not complain, that have an issue with how you do something or why you do it. Well, that anger is our fault because maybe we weren't upfront. Like, hey, the reason why I can't take the zits off of your photo is you've got 1,000 of them, Riley, and that's going to take me 2 days to do. Meanwhile, Zach has a sweet baby face with no zits on it. That's why it takes no time at all. It's your job to always educate people. Now, we know that only goes so far,
Yeah.
And how that makes you, I think what it teaches you is patience. We have talked a number of times about how difficult it is to handle. Here's a person who's hurting.
Mm-hmm.
I can help them not hurt. But in between there is how do we get compensated for our knowledge and our helping this person? And that compensation usually comes in the form of an insurance company that sometimes can be difficult to pay.
Sure.
And I have heard a number of times that you guys are treating people and helping people in spite of the troubles they may have paying and the troubles they may have dealing with their own insurance company. I've heard it a number of times where you're helping people and you're doing it on your own dime. And I think you don't get enough credit for that. And I hate to say that I do that, but that is a huge part of being a photographer.
Sure.
Is they may not have paid for a service, but they're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that creates goodwill. And the same thing as a musician. I always tell myself and the guys in the band, if they're going to pay us any amount of money to do something, let's always try to give them more than what's expected.
Sure.
I laugh. I was hired once by a presidential campaign to photograph a daughter. So I was photographing the daughter of a sitting president, and that was a blast. But I used the same camera. I used the same lights. I used the same skill set. I used the same computer system that I use on a 6th grade boy football player. I think of them the same way.
Right.
And in fact, they got charged the same thing. I didn't go, oh, that's, President so-and-so, I'm going to charge them $10 million. No, I charged them the same thing I charge anybody else in Quincy to do something like that. Because you never know how I don't want to say karma, but you always got to be mindful that God is watching. And if you try and take advantage of one situation, that's going to come back and haunt you some other time.
Yeah.
So those are the lessons you learn as an entrepreneur or someone who owns their own business, is just always try and do the right thing for your clients. Maybe sometimes even in spite of what you think you should say to them. You should say, well, no, I can't do that. It's going to take me forever. And sometimes you just do it.
Right.
Because they may not know that you're doing it, but you do.
Right.
Right. And so what that makes you a better husband and a better father is you just, as time goes on and you get older, and especially when you get to my age, you learn that the only thing that matters is how you are impacting your kids and your relationships with them. Because one of my favorite lines in any movie is from movie Interstellar, when he tells his daughter, we're as parents, we're here to just be memories for our kids, because we're going to die. And at a certain point, and hopefully we all pass away before our children do, we're just memories. What kind of memories do we want to be, right? Because that's all we're going to be.
Yeah.
In 100 years, no one's going to know who you and I ever were.
No.
So let's just do it right here. Try to be an example of what we wish our clients would be and what everyone else would be. So I hope that answers part.
It does. No, that's great. And I think under promise and over deliver. Like that's something I've always, I think we were just talking yesterday to somebody about that. Just like business isn't hard. And honestly, like it's kind of parenting too, like it's hard. Like it's not for everybody, and that's one thing I've been able to see kind of your relationship with your kids, because they've come in here, right? And they've done different stuff over the years. And it's cool to see, what I have heard about you from before I knew you, and from now you've gone on a journey of, getting healthier with what you take in the form of food and drinks and everything. Right. It's like you've been on a journey, and I think it's been kind of cool to see. So will you talk about that for a minute? Yeah. Like what prompted you to go on that? I'm going to call it a weight loss journey, but whatever you can label.
Yeah, whatever you want. Well, I mean, and as you know, so I was coming in here pretty often for over a year to have you guys help me. It was my right foot had been killing me, my ankle, just forever. Well, my heel, my tendon, everything was just awful. And I couldn't get out from under the pain, no matter what we were doing. In fact, everything I did just made it hurt more, other than just sitting there. And I had seen podiatrist after podiatrist after podiatrist. And, the thing is, people always have, hey, I've got the best guy, he's in Kentucky, or my best guy is in, Dubai, just go see him, right? It's never in the town you live in, right? And so I had been on this journey for years, seeing podiatrists and doing, let's put you in a boot for 3 months and, stand on one leg and stretch and do this and do all these things. And it just never worked. And so finally I'd left an appointment in St. Louis from a podiatrist, and it really, was a moment of clarity, and that I was not getting what I needed from them. And I knew it. I knew that they were diagnosing me with something that I did not have, and it was the 10th time I had heard, oh, you've got plantar fasciitis. No, I don't.
Yeah.
You asked me what the symptoms were. I said no. And you go, well, but it's still plantar fasciitis, right?
Yeah.
So that happened to me enough that I left that, appointment, and we went to, told Katie, Katie, let's just go to the Cheesecake Factory. I don't think I'd ever go to the Cheesecake Factory. And I'm like, I'm going to eat my last terrible meal. And so I ordered like this burrito, it just looked like a baby that had been wrapped up, like a swaddled baby. It was so big. I'm talking a big baby.
Yeah. Yes. That nut.
Oh yeah. With sour cream and all the fixings. And I ate that bad boy, and I said, this is the last bad thing I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
And from that day on, I fast 24 hours a day, and I still do this. I think this is almost 3 years now. But from that day forward, I fasted 24 hours a day. I only ate salad. I I would just make a big salad, and then I would have like salmon or beef, but it was never bigger than the palm of my hand. And I dealt with the hunger. So no sugar, nothing. And I mean, that's all I ate. I mean, that's all I ate. Nothing else. I didn't drink tea with a bunch of sugar in it. None of that stuff. Just water. Gave up alcohol like a year before that. So absolutely nothing. And I dealt with that hunger that people are scared of. Like, oh, how can you do that? I dealt with that for about a week, and then that disappeared. And so what ended up happening was I lost about 60 pounds, 62 pounds in 2 months.
Wow.
Doing that, because I was so fat and so swollen and so filled with inflammation that your body just wants to get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, like, if you want, first of all, I hate giving advice because everybody's different. So a lot of times I just say, hey, listen, it just worked for me, and this is what I did. But it really did work for me. I quit working out. Like, I was working out with heavy weights once a week, and I stopped doing that for about a year, I think. And all I did was walk. That's it. Just walk. So I'd walk around a park, and that's how I lost all that weight, right? And that made me feel absolutely fantastic. It was almost like you were drinking poison your whole life. And so when people now go, oh, I could never do without my Pepsi, or I could never do without my glass of wine or my pizza or anything like that, I go, it's because you've never tried it. Because now that I don't have that in my life, you don't miss it. You don't miss it. And your body also, I've changed my gut biome. I've changed my body doesn't want it. I mean, I'm not, it would just be like someone who's never smoked going, you know what? I feel like smoking a cigarette. No one feels like that. And it's kind of the same way. But so we're there now. That's what I do to this day. And what ended up happening is it did not affect my foot at all. And that's when I'd come in here and we would talk, and I would get the looks on your guys' faces. You're just like, Jared, there's nothing you could do about this.
It's time.
It's time. And then that's when I met Dr. Wavernick out of Blessing Hospital, and that was, other than this place, that was the single best medical experience I've ever had in my life, was dealing with Blessing and Dr. Wavernick out there, because he knew right away from just the CAT scan alone, he knew this was not something you were going to stretch out of or change your diet and fix. And then the MRI showed multiple tears in my Achilles that had to have been there for years, causing.
Well, think about all the times that you were doing gigs or shows or photography, like having to get in, static positions. I mean, I'm just thinking as a PT, and it's like, that takes a toll. Everything we do has a cost. I don't care if you're a couch potato or if you're an ultra marathon runner, like there's a cost to both of those scenarios. Ideally, we're probably somewhere in the middle. I don't want to be either one of those.
Right.
But there's a cost to every decision that would make. And that livelihood that you had built was cool because you had some freedom, and that was nice, but there was a cost to it.
Right.
And, so I think it's cool for our listeners to hear, like, hey, it's possible to make some radical changes in your life. I'm not saying that they need to be fast 24 hours, but, try some of those things when it's, appropriate, based on whatever their circumstances are. And there are changes that can be made in a positive direction, things that you can actually take. I guess what I take out of it, you took control as opposed to kind of being played by the typical food and the Western medicine system that we, have to abide by sometimes.
Right.
And you took control of the scenario, and you're better off. I know you said you sleep better.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously feel better. Mental clarity, there's a lot of benefits from what you're doing.
Right.
Maybe it isn't for everybody, but it's changed your life for the better.
Yeah.
So no, it's really cool. I want to talk now. You've already mentioned your new role, and I really want to highlight that because I did not know that organization even existed.
Right.
I had no idea. And, I didn't even know that you had taken the role until maybe a month ago. I forget when it was. So say the title again, Executive Director.
Executive Director of the Quincy Catholic Elementary Schools Foundation.
Okay. What is the purpose of that?
The purpose of the foundation is very simple. I am the bridge between donors and people and parents and children who are seeking tuition assistance to afford Catholic education.
Okay.
So it's a very simple role. Now, obviously, there's other things that we do, but that is the core mission of this foundation. You know, we also offer teacher grants and stuff like that, but people donate money into to us, and every year when people are getting ready to come to our school systems, they can apply for assistance. And so we have a way that our donors now have a system in which that money then gets allocated based on need.
Makes sense. So, dumb question.
Yeah.
I'm full of them.
Yeah.
So, I have a 3-year-old. And he's obviously still a year or two away from that next level of education, right? But he's learning a lot right now because he has a brand new baby sister. So he's learning a lot. But for someone who's not Catholic, like, what is the benefit to a Catholic education? Just to Joe Schmo walking down the street.
Right.
Why not go to public schools? Which, nothing wrong with public schools, but why is that so important to the Quincy community?
Well, and then, you know, I could speak it. Obviously, I'm Catholic, but we have a lot of non-Catholics that send their kids to the school system. And part of that is, you know, I'd love to invite anybody who asks that question just to come and see what is going on. You know, my wife is a public school teacher in Quincy. She's taught there this is her 20th year.
Yeah.
You know, when you see our class sizes and you see the curriculum that they have, if you're a Christian, we talk about the Bible and Jesus every day in our classrooms. You know, that is a huge benefit to any Christian out there, right? Now, some people who move from out of town or come from out of town, they simply want a private school.
Sure.
Now, we are a private school system, but we're private because we're a Catholic school system, not the other way around.
Okay.
You know, and does that make sense?
Yes.
So if you may not be Catholic, but I guarantee whatever form of Christianity that you practice, you're going to prefer that your children be in a Catholic school system than a public school system. If you really want them surrounded by Christ, the Bible, about the not Catholic teaching, but it is Catholic teaching, but so much of it is universal Christian teaching.
Sure.
You know, I don't know if that sounds right, so we might have to go back in there.
That's okay. We can, whatever we need to do that. And I think one of the things that I grew up in Carthage, not too far from here. One of the mindsets that I always have is, those are private school kids. You know, it's like, and almost like in a negative connotation towards it.
Right.
But it was more around sports, because they were freaking good. Like, they kicked our butts every year. So that's more what it was. And I never understood. Now that I'm a parent, now that I'm getting closer to making some of those decisions for my own children,
Right.
It's like, I want structure, and I want the opportunities, you know, that and the public schools do a great job of that. No, there's things that they offer that probably some of the other schools can't, but some people, that is the right choice, right?
Yeah.
And is it a smaller classroom size? Is it a different ratio from teachers to students, or whatever the reason may be?
Right.
You know, when did you start this role? When did you start?
July, it would have been a little over a month ago.
Okay. Outside of just getting uploaded to all the stuff that has to go on right at that role, in your mind, what is or what has been the hardest part of this role? What's been the missing? Why have I not heard of this organization before, this foundation?
Because they're children, and I that sounds. It's easy to hear, and it's easy to go, oh, because they're children. But when kids get to high school, that is when you see parents get real excited about, he's a pitcher, he's playing for Notre Dame,
Right.
or he's playing for QHS, right? My boys are this, or my daughter's the best on the volleyball team. That starts to accumulate for parents at high school age. So that's when parents, myself included, so many people were thinking, you think of elementary time as almost like daycare. You know, some people go, okay, my kid's old enough to be in kindergarten. It's a stepping through out of the house.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that because of that mindset, people don't have they're not invested as much in the elementary years of their kids' education as they are in high school.
Sure.
Right. Or else the stands would be packed at, these types of sporting events. And part of the reason you haven't heard about this organization, or, first of all, you're not Catholic, but a lot of Catholics don't know what I do, or they think that I'm the superintendent, which I'm not, is because of the nature of our work. My work is designed to help people who need help. Many times, people don't want anyone to know that they need help. They don't go out and say, look what I got. We got money to help pay for tuition.
Yeah.
That's not something
They might be sharing that on social media.
they're not sharing that on social media. So when I go out and I want to talk to, business owner A about my organization, it's not that it's difficult to point to why I need your support. But I think you'd asked about it earlier, like what's the hardest part of this job? The hardest part of my job this far has been seeing how much need there is, seeing that, like you said earlier about how you viewed the Catholic schools like Notre Dame or whatever as, oh, that's a private school. The assumption is that, oh, only rich people go there.
Yeah.
It could not be further from the truth.
Sure.
It's unbelievable what people do to sacrifice to have their kids come into our Catholic school system.
Sure.
It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
You can even look at the Dream Big Foundation at QHS. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Right.
Well, we're the same thing, but you've heard of that. Well, that's an enormous organization because they have an enormous alumni. It's a big, but they need help affording that tuition as well, which is free. So they're supporting teachers, they're supporting student activities and all that stuff. That's what this organization is doing.
Yeah.
Right now, our parishes support help tuition as well. So our tuition is at this level. Let's say tuition is here, cost to educate's here. Our parishes, the money we give every week brings that down to here.
Makes sense.
Well, to some people, $1 is too much to afford.
Sure.
And it's not, we can't expect people to give up everything and get rid of air conditioning and sell their cars and walk their kids to school to afford tuition. That's not what we're here to do.
Yeah.
But what we are here to do is say, listen, if you believe in our Christian faith, if you're a Christian, and now if you're a Catholic, if you believe, then you want your children, and you as a parent too, Riley, want to be involved in your faith as much as possible from the time your kids are in preschool, which we have a great preschool program in our 4 schools, all the way through QU even. You want that experience for you and your family the entire time. Now, you can go to public school, and then you can go to PSR, or you can go to Mass every Sunday or church every Sunday. That's fabulous, right? That's what we're called to do, right? But we're also called to do much more than we get asked to do stuff, and we're called to do more each and every time. And so that's where the appeal is. Like every day, trust me, even though you're not Catholic, you're going to love what you see these teachers and our principals doing with your children.
Sure.
Because people do it all the time.
Yeah.
So that's the difficult part is I don't get to point to, look who you've helped this year by name or, in regard to that, you know what I'm saying? But it's exciting to be able to say, what can I do with my, what people already know about Jared Holbrook? I think that's part of the reason they hired me was that, hey,
100%.
I walk in and it drives my wife nuts if we go out to eat or we go to Sam's because we're going to be here for 2 hours.
We know everybody.
Right, because I know everybody and I do like talking to people and that drives, my poor wife, It would drive me nuts too if every time someone stopped to talk to her and I didn't know who they were, but we've had 2 different paths. She's been teaching kids her whole life and I've been out in public my whole life, so people know me.
Right.
So whatever I can do to capitalize on that to bring awareness to this is good.
You've got a unique skill set that not many people have. That there's actually twice in the last week. I won't name these people by name because it was a private conversation, but your name got brought up. And one of these individuals I was talking to was on the board of your foundation. And this gentleman was like, we got the right person. That's been the sentiment across. And I'm not just saying that to, make you feel better, but there obviously was a lot of thought that went into this.
Right.
Not all of the relationships you've been able to build over the last couple of decades. But again, kind of person, Charlie, you're a flawed person, no different than anybody else. But I think that's kind of the point. We're trying to get our kids are the future, and again, that didn't mean much to me until I became a parent. Right. And you're right, though. To your point of, in my head, coming from a small town, Carthage, I always viewed, say, Q&D as every single kid that goes to there is like loaded. Like that was like the natural perception.
Right.
Their families have the ability to invest in things like where they can go to travel sports or whatever the thing is. I was in sports, so that was a natural connection. But they were always good in everything, and it ticked me off.
Right.
And the other part of it was like, oh, they're just recruiting kids from small towns and having them come here, and that's not the case either.
Right.
It's like, but that was the mantra that I grew up with, which is probably why part of the reason I never heard of this foundation.
Right.
So the mission, I'm going to restate a couple of things, correct where we need to, is to really impact positively the kids in this community if and when their parents want the opportunity to send them to and have a Catholic education.
Correct.
And again, to use your language, I think is you're the bridge. You're the person who can help connect those two dots from point A to point B. How do we make that happen? Is there monetary resources that are needed? Like what is needed? And how big is this organization? And how do people get in touch with you? If they want more information, what do they do?
Right. Well, it's hard to kind of explain how big the organization is, because then you start getting into numbers. And I don't like numbers, and it's not a transparency thing. It just doesn't tell the whole story.
Sure.
This is how big we are. We need more help to meet the demand of this organization. So I don't care if we have 50 million in the bank or 80,000. If 80,000 in the bank meets the need we have, then we're big enough.
Then you're good.
But we're not big enough. There's still people who need more from the people in our community. They need more help to have their kids have this education, right? That's how big we are. And that's how I will always answer that question.
Sure.
The demand will go up and down and up and down, right? So that is the best way that I can explain, how big is this organization? Well, I'm the only employee,
Sure.
if that tells you anything. I have an assistant that works about 6 hours a week, sometimes 6 hours a month, So a lot of it is on my plate to handle even the day-to-day operations of the business,
Sure.
And I want to circle back to one of your points, and I know we got to get going. But if when you talked about Notre Dame, for example, Kurt Stuckman is the foundation director at Notre Dame.
Yep.
You talk to him sometime about if his organization is big enough. And he is. And Kurt Stuckman, I don't know where we would be in our community, in our Catholic community, if it wasn't for Kurt Stuckman's efforts. He has been amazing. But talk to him if he thinks he's got enough or his organization is big enough.
Sure.
Because again, tuition jumps when you go to Notre Dame. It's even more expensive because they don't have a parish that supports them.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So the need is greater, and you don't want to lose that after 8th grade. And you make that jump.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But he is another one I'd love to have you talk to kind of make you or have you understand the big picture of Catholic education in the city. Sure. Is the public schools need us. We need the public school system. We feed each other. We have it's not even a rivalry anymore because so many kids through club sports grow up with each other.
Sure.
But there's always more. There was a reading a couple of Sundays ago that, to whom much is given, much is expected. Well, the next line is, well, if you've been given enough, that a lot, I'm going to expect more. And then if I give you more, Riley, in terms of gifts, you need to do more with them. And so my challenge to donors is that, Jesus challenges all of us to, go and pray in secret. And then we're taught to never let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, right? Well, in this circumstance, we need examples. The people who are giving and the people who are receiving, let us have some examples to light a fire under everybody else and go, oh, Riley Smith did this? He's not even Catholic. Why would he do this?
Right.
But so if you do something in secret, okay, yes, good for you and good for your soul. But how about this? Let the public see you do it, but then go do something else in secret to make up for that. If you got your reward on earth, well, that just means you've got to do more. It's like I always tell people when I play music at mass and people, come up and thank me for it, or they, sometimes they applaud, which is really embarrassing. But that's my reward. I don't get that in heaven. So I've got to do more in private. That's how I see this. So if anything, I hope comes out of this podcast that's selfish for me. I hope people give and they give loudly because I need people to know what this foundation is and how important it is.
Yeah.
Because you and I are set on a path that we get to decide, and God kind of lays the how we get to the end, right? But our children need us. And right now our children need examples of people who care.
Yeah, that's fair. I think hashtag is give and give loudly. I think that's what we're going to have to pass. So I say, yeah, I like that. It's like, here we go. That's a job to do. It was natural. So what's the best way for people to get in touch with you or the foundation? Where do they find you?
The best thing to do is go to our website, thequincycatholicschools.org. So not only is that that is the website for our entire school system, but you'll find on the website itself a way to get in touch with the foundation.
Okay.
Now, the good thing about the Catholic community in Quincy is you can call any parish. You can pull anyone aside.
True.
And go, how do we get in contact with the foundation? Yeah. They're going to be able to get you that information. But QuincyCatholicSchools.org is the best way to do it. Yeah. And then that'll give you all the information.
Perfect. Awesome. Jared, I appreciate you coming on, man.
You betcha.
All the way from walking just, in that door that summer afternoon. You're a friend. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for all that you do for the community. And I hope that this will not only let more people know, such as myself, like I didn't know this organization or foundation existed. I hope that's truly what I want for a good person, a good foundation, and to help more kids here in the community. So thanks for mom, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.